Welcome back to another episode of the Joey Musto Show presented by Team Musto. Today we're going to be taking a look at the past 7 days in the Maui real estate market. We're going to be looking back from Sunday, March 15th, going over some of the big metrics. We're going to look at the number of new escrows, number of active listings, what it means for buyers, what it means for sellers. We're going to look at price reductions, a couple good opportunities that I found, one for single family homes and one for condos. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the keys if you're selling in today's market and kind of the process if you're buying. So let's go ahead and get into it. The biggest piece of news this week was active inventory is closing in on 1,600 listings. It was at 1,598, which is up from 1,583 last week, an additional 15 listings. This is the highest level of inventory that we've seen in 2026 so far. So this is good news for buyers. It gives you more time to find properties that you like. And if you do find properties that you love, you don't have to rush into anything. There is more time to structure a good offer, to look around, run some comps. For sellers, it means more competition. It means you have to be right on price, presentation, availability. You have to have at least two of the three of those if you're looking to get any kind of interest. And then the way it was split, we have 456 single family homes, 928 condos, 214 pieces of land. So when it comes to the condos, the hotspots, South Maui, Kihei, there's a ton of inventory. On the west side in Apili, there's a ton of inventory. When it comes to single family homes for buyers, like I just mentioned, you do have the time to look around. If you do find a particularly hot market like Kahului single family homes, you might have to move a little bit quicker on a property that you love. Um, but in general, right now, it's a ton of time on the market with these properties. So you do have the time to search around and find a property that you really love. Where inventory increased this week. So on that same note, we saw Kihei at 6 condos, which is not necessarily good news for Kihei because there's already a ton of condos on the market there. So we don't need any more with all the uncertainty around the Minatoya list, Bill 9, people trying to get out, and people not really wanting to enter just because they don't know, what properties are going to be phased out, when is it all going to happen, and the county hasn't been that clear on it. So that's why we're seeing a ton of active inventory in Kihei for condos and then single family homes. So Kihei always is in demand. It's always turning properties over. People want to be in Kihei, people want to buy in Kihei, and naturally, at some point, people want to sell. So nothing too crazy about the single family homes there. Kahului, however, I think there is good news here and 3 condos, nothing to write home about there. But when it comes to single family homes, I think the 5 additional single family homes that hit the market this week, I think it shows that homeowners are paying attention and they understand that if they've been thinking about selling and they are in Kahului, now's kind of the time to do it. It's in demand. There's property selling above list price. So while the rest of the Maui real estate market is generally slow, Kahului single family homes is not. So Kihei inventory growth was driven primarily by new condos. We saw 6 compared to the 2 single family homes. Kahului, most of the increase came from additional single family homes being listed because they are in demand right now. Where inventory declined, so upcountry, we saw single family homes come off the market. Kula had 4, Makwa had 2. Upcountry is a little bit of an interesting area if you're looking to buy. There are some properties in Pukalani that have been on the market for like over a year. But in general, if you're in an area like Makwa and you want to be in Maui Uplands or Makwa Ranch Acres, these properties don't come on the market all the time. So if you do find something there, it might be one of those areas that you do want to act quickly. Fewer homes available may increase competition for buyers. So yeah, in the select subdivision and neighborhoods where people want to be, if something does come up, it's important that you're paying attention and you have to move a little bit quicker. Condos drove most of the inventory growth this week. Island-wide, 7 condos, 1 home, and 5 land listings. Moving forward from there, we're going to talk about how very few listings are going pending quickly. So this past week, there were 65 new listings hit the market, and only one of them went pending within the first week. So if you look at the last 2 weeks now, 65, 1 pending, 66, 1 pending. The week of March 1st, where we saw 55 new listings, 4 of them went pending. So that was um, a little bit quicker there. But what does this mean in general? It means that buyers understand that they don't need to move quickly. So if a property that they do love hits the market, there's no need to rush into anything, just because things aren't moving that quickly. It gives them more time to evaluate listings before making offers. And then for sellers, it's just even more important that you're correct on price. You present the home or the unit well and that you're available. Otherwise, you end up like in this picture here on the market for 252 days. So there were very few listings that went pending this past week. Moving forward from there, now I want to talk about some of the opportunities that I like. So 2611 Leo Holo Place. Now this was listed at 1.237. It's now reduced to 1.13. It's in Keonikai Heights, South Kihei. We sold a home on the street in the end of January. That was 2635 Leo Holo Place. It was at the end of the cul-de-sac. It was a completely different home, way bigger. But this one is two bed, two bath. It's 904 square feet and has a detached one bed, one bath ohana that's 504 square feet. So both of them are kind of like condo sizes. Recently, a holo sales, if you look over the past 6 months, there was one other place that sold on the street besides ours, 2635. That sold, like I said, end of January. The one before that, I believe, was September last year, sold for 1.375 million. Ours sold for 1.475 million. We did do a price reduction before it sold. Um, and the average recent sale on the street is 1.425 million. So if you just look at this, you're just looking at the numbers, you would think, 2611, look at that price. It's a good entry level price. It's below 295 grand below the recent street average. However, if you look at the price per square foot, it's still priced at a premium compared to recently a holo sales at $803 per square foot. The range is kind of between 501 and 507. So I do see this property having to do another price reduction before selling, or I see somebody coming in with an offer that's below what they're asking. But we're gonna actually take a look at it now. So I've done a couple open houses here. I'm obviously familiar with the street, and familiar with the neighbor here who actually told me that this grass area used to be all rocks. And that's kind of an important note because if you are buying in Keonikai Heights, if you're buying on Leoholo Place, it's kind of hard to maintain a lawn just because you don't get a lot of rain. So that might be something to take into consideration there. But on the left-hand side is the main house, right-hand side is the cottage. The cottage is actually newer. And so here's the placement on the street. 2635 was over here that we sold at the end of the cul-de-sac. Um, but yeah, here's kind of what I mean about the lawn. It actually looks pretty good in this picture. But somebody that would be looking to buy this might be considering just tearing down the main home, the 904 square foot, and rebuilding it, or just updating it in general. It's a little bit old on the inside. The kitchen placement is kind of weird by the front door. I mean, you kind of look out to your driveway there, a little bit interesting. Flooring, like I said. Countertops, cabinets, nothing to complain about there. And it's a functional kitchen, obviously, washer, dryer. But there are some pictures in here that are virtually staged like this one. So this kind of gives you an example of what this property could be, the way that it's currently structured. Does look nice, but right now it's just vacant. Bathroom looks a little bit older, showers updated, but the tub looks like it's from the 1960s. Here's another one of the bedrooms. Here's what it could be. So obviously there's some potential in this property. A little bit older bathroom here. But yeah, so that's the main house. And then if you look at the cottage, I like the gazebo out front, but the cottage is actually more updated. And I could see a situation where people move in here while they renovate the main house. I think that's a likely case scenario. But yeah, the cottage is definitely livable. One bed, one bath, 504 square feet, I believe. It's a little bit smaller, but it has everything that you need. Washer, dryer, bedroom, bathroom. Bedroom super nice here. You get good natural light. And it kind of looks like it's virtual stage, but that's what it actually looks like. Bathroom is actually more updated. So, and there's not much of a backyard here, just concrete, which I like because, like I said, maintaining a yard in Keonikai Heights around Leohola Place would be a little bit more difficult just with the weather. So I think there's a ton of benefits to this property. It's still a little bit overpriced in my opinion. It's been on the market 186 days. I could see a scenario where they do another price reduction, which would kind of be painful to the seller, or where they just accept a little bit of a lowball offer, maybe closer to the $1 million price range. So when it comes to condos, where I see opportunity is Maui Vista 1118. This is priced now at just under 600 grand. It reduced from 725 grand. The issue with this one, it's on the Minatoya list. Um, so the short-term rentals is uncertain and it's currently being phased out. Like they're not going to be able to do it come 2031, or I believe 2030. So that's something to keep in mind. And then with the structure of it, it's a one bed, one bath, 605 square foot unit. So like if you are planning to live in it, it's a little bit smaller. It would take a certain kind of buyer, maybe somebody without a family or a really small family. Um, so it's just they just have to find a specific buyer here. The complex, yeah, Maui Vista Complex is across from Charlie Young Beach. It's in a great location. Nothing to complain about with the complex. The maintenance fees are $836. It's in line with what you'll find at Maui Sunset, Luana Kai, Kahului Makai. It's priced under what you'll find at like Sugar Beach, where there's a bunch of one bed, one bath units, but you're paying closer, 900 to $1,000 for the maintenance fees. And you do have a pool, you have tennis courts at Maui Vista. This is a corner unit, so you're literally steps away from Charlie Young Beach, which I think is great. This one has been on the market 214 days, and with this price reduction, it moves them into um, the $990 per square foot price range, which is in between the competing active listings between 892 and 1,096 per square foot. So this unit doesn't scream like a deal here based on the price, but I think what they're going with here is it was renovated in 2022, super modern, super cute. So we'll look at the pictures here, and that's why they kind of feel it deserves to be at a premium compared to the average recent sale, which was at 746 in that kind of price range of 705 to 772. So if somebody was thinking about putting in an offer on this, I think those would be numbers that you could kind of anchor on. And then 990, you kind of have to decide if you think it's worth a premium. If you go through the pictures and look at it, I do like the fact it's a corner unit. I do like the renovations that they did in 2022, but with all the uncertainty around Bill 9, like that kind of eats at the premium, right? So it is nice in here. I like the where the fridge is structured in the kitchen because I think the fridge takes up a lot of room in a normal kitchen, but the way it's the layout here makes it feel open, makes it feel like there's a lot of space, four chairs at the countertop, so plenty of space to sit people. Main living area. I like the fact that the bedroom's towards the back of the house down the hallway here, because if there was any road noise, you close that slider, can't hear anything at the back end of the room, I'd imagine. Um, Good closet space. I think it was split AC. It might have been central. We can double check on the air conditioning, but you definitely want air conditioning if you're going to be down in Kihei. The lanai patio. So this is South Kihei Road, right past this hedge here. So maybe there's some concern with the road noise, but then again, you could just move your party to Charlie Young Beach, which is just across the street, and hang out there instead of the patio. So um, that's something to keep in mind. Pool, tennis courts, like I talked about. I'm just trying to double check on the air conditioning. So there definitely is air conditioning, LVP flooring, which is great. Um, but don't know if it was central or split. Might have been in the wall unit. Oh, regardless, you'd want to have air conditioning if you're thinking about buying a Kihei condo. So anyway, back to the presentation here, getting back into it. Um, my Next slide is supply hits a year-to-date high while demand slips slightly. So we talked about the active listings at close to 1,600, but we didn't talk about the number of new escrows, and they were at 32, and this is the lowest since the start of the year. Now you have to pay attention here because January 4th, 2026. Now this was kind of a holiday time, so we only saw 19 escrows. That was the lowest weekly total this year. But I would kind of take that one out as kind of an outlier. Not a lot of people doing deals around the holidays. So really, we're looking at 32 as the lowest since the lowest this year. And for buyers, what does that mean? Well, more options and more time to compare listings, like I talked about earlier in the presentation. For sellers, increased competition makes pricing and positioning critical. So I'm going to play a video here on the importance of pricing, and we can kind of discuss that after. Pricing is obviously just one part of it, but it's a pretty big part. The number one reason your home isn't selling is because you're priced incorrectly. So if your home is worth $1 million and you list it at $1 million, you'll be visible to 95% of potential buyers. Now, say you listed 5% over fair market value, now your buyer pool is going to be cut to 50%. Say you go 10% over fair market value, you're looking at 30%, and say you go 15% over fair market value, now you're looking at just 10%. So your home may be flawless, it just might not be priced correctly. And you may say, look, Joey, we know our home is worth $1 million, but we want to list it 15% over fair market value, and eventually the right people will come along. Now, you may be right. The right people may come along, but it's going to take some time. So your home might sit for 100 days, it might sit for 150, it might sit for 200 days. And when that right group of buyers comes along, they're going to want an answer to this. And they're going to want to know, why has your home been sitting for 200 or even 200 plus days? And I might say, look, guys, it's just because it was overpriced. But they're going to think one of two things. The first thing they're going to think is, I don't want this. Nobody's wanted this. Or they're going to think, hey, let's go in with a low ball offer. So as a seller, you don't want to find yourself in a situation where you have to answer for this. If you got value from this video, Okay, so I think that video kind of sums up the importance of pricing, and I think it's even more important in today's market, especially if you're in a place like the Kihei condo market where things are not selling. If you do price even 5% over, it's going to be unattractive to potential buyers. If you are in a in-demand place like Kahului single family homes, you might get away with five, you might get away with 10% over fair market value. 15% is probably still a little bit too high in today's market, but yeah. So it's important to understand where you're at, where your market at, where the market is, where you're at, and then kind of price from there. So the other two things that are important, so you have price, presentation, the condo or the home, whatever you're selling, has to look nice, and then availability. How many open houses are you doing? How many showings? Like, can people get in quickly? Because buyers have a ton of options, right? So hey, if they want to look at your unit on Saturday and you can't make it work, they're on to the next thing. So it's important that if you're going to list, you're available and you can get in there and show the unit. And it's even more important if you're in a place that is has been struggling like the Kihei condo market. So just kind of final thoughts section now to wrap it up. I mean, I've harped on this pretty much the whole time, but inventory is at the highest level all year. More listings means more options and time to compare properties for buyers, and demand is still strong in areas like Kihei for single family homes and Kahului for single family homes. Places are demand is not strong, obviously. In the Kihei condo market right now, even the Wailea condo market is slow. For sellers, rising inventory is creating more competition between listings. Obviously, the higher the inventory goes, and if it's in the category like for condos, if they get any higher than 968, I mean, that's just going to be even more competition. And the same goes for single family homes, same goes for land. Buyers are taking longer to make decisions. You see, the days on market are relatively long. Even at the Leohola one that we looked at, I believe it was 161. Maui Vista was 214. So buyers don't have to rush into anything. And the longer that you have been on the market, the better it is from a negotiation standpoint for the buyer. And then homes priced to close to recent comparable sales are the ones going pending. So I think the two price reductions we looked at, well, it's great to see the prices come down. I still think they're overpriced compared to the recent comp sales. I mean, I don't even think that the numbers show it. So what does that mean for those units? Well, it means either somebody's going to come in with a lower offer that was probably anchored in those recent sales, um, or they're going to have to do another price reduction, which is just more pain for the sellers. So if you are a seller, either come out at fair market value, but if you come out higher and then you commit to doing the price reduction, like you don't want to have the same story twice. Just do the price reduction closer to uh, the recent sales. And yeah, that's pretty much all I got for today. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you got value from it. Here's our team information. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments. Leave in the comments what kind of videos that you would like to see, what kind of things would bring value to people. And follow me on all the socials, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, pretty much anywhere. Substack for written content. I do weekly market reports written on Substack, so it's a little bit easier to use as a guide. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Hope everybody has an absolutely great week. And yeah.